Hey guys, welcome back. So I know you've been missing some James Hudson, so I figured I'd do some videos pretty much covering what happened right after Ultimate X all the way up to the beginning of Cataclysm. This way, so when we get into X-Men Blue, you have a better idea of where James is from start all the way up to today. So we start off here with Lizzie, James, and Derek, and they're watching the news, hearing about the connection between Wolverine's body and the Weapon X program. And I mentioned in earlier videos that Karen Grant, who's actually Jean Grey in hiding, is recruiting as many mutants as she can to kind of fight back, because Sentinels are sweeping the streets, hunting mutants down left and right. And she stepped out, they're just waiting at the hotel for her. But Jimmy says that he's tired of hearing from other people who his father was, who he is. I mean, he was pretty much raised unalive, so this is where he decided to leave the group and go find some answers for himself. So he just figures he'll go find out where the Weapon X facility is and see for himself what really happened with Wolverine and the start of the mutant race. But as it turns out, along the way, he gets captured by a group of men called the Purifiers. And now the Purifiers are like this real self-righteous group who is like capturing mutants left and right, but mainly children though. But as you would guess, they weren't able to hold Jimmy for long, because he was able to break out and free quite a few of the kids that were locked up there too. But Jimmy went through like dozens of their guards trying to free as many of the kids as he could on the way out. And he took a lot of gunfire in the process too. But he didn't stop, man, like not at all, because he was determined to get out of there and get as many of those kids out. And what's crazy about this group, man, it's more like a cult, really, the Purifiers. But what's crazy about them is as he's trying to get these kids out, man, they're not only shooting at him, but they're shooting at everybody who's running. Because like as they make it for the home stretch, like off the dock and into the water, whether to swim for safety or use the boats, these guys come out behind them and they open fire on everybody. And to them, they see it as cleansing the human race, but these are just some sick people, man. But as it turns out, one of the kids that Jimmy helped escape, and he also helped shield from gunfire, ended up helping Jimmy in return by keeping him afloat so he can recover from all the gunshots and all the wounds he accumulated getting everybody out of there. And I don't remember this kid's name, but him and the creature attached to him, they're actually brothers. And the brother's name is Thomas. But it's funny because multiple times through the series, anytime that somebody sees them, they're like, "Oh, hey kid, how's it going?" And then Thomas jumps out, they're like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And they're attached to one another, so it's not like he can really tell him to go over there and stay over there or something. But this kid ends up reuniting James with Kitty Pryde and the rest of her team. And at this point, as far as rounding up people, Kitty's taking all the help that she can get. She has Human Torch, Iceman, Rogue, and now James. And there's going to be more to add on to the team along the way. And since Professor's been gone, Kitty Pryde has kind of been the leader of the group. Well, she's the one that's at least taking the initiative to get everybody together. And so as James gives them the details about the Purifiers, he lets them know that they were led by William Stryker, describing him as a man that looked like a sentinel with human skin. And like less than an hour later, James is all healed up and he's ready to go. And he just comes out the room telling them, "Hey, I'm about to go." He lets everyone know that I'm going to look for Stryker, you coming or not. And Johnny Storm's like, "Yeah, I'm going." And on the contrary, Kitty Pryde is like, "No." And Iceman's kind of there in the middle like, okay, nobody gonna address the fact that this dude is like recovered fully. But after a heated argument with Kitty Pryde, Johnny Storm, Iceman, and Rogue ended up going with James. But I do want to mention here, I'm not sure if you guys noticed in the last panel, but Rogue has been acting real funny. She's been real standoffish for the most part. And that all started when James had mentioned Stryker, because she made a deal with Stryker that if she turns in the X-Men to him, that in return for her efforts, he'll quote unquote heal her from her mutant abilities. So by going with Jimmy, she's really just using him to get back to Stryker to get what she wants. Because otherwise, Kitty wouldn't have let everybody go. And so when they finally face off with Stryker, and this is William Stryker Jr. in case you guys are wondering why he looks so young. But Iceman's like, "Hey, this the dude? Why he wearing a Windows version of the Iron Man suit?" But it turns out he can fight better than he dresses. Who knew? Because he ends up taking out everybody, and Rogue is like, wait, we had a deal. You got to keep up your end of the bargain. And Stryker's being extra dramatic, man. Like, he's nearly trying to get her to beg for it. But little does he know, the main person who didn't want everybody to come ending up showing up. And that's Kitty Pryde, who takes out Stryker rather quickly. But when this happens, we get one of the biggest reveals. Like, right after he's struck and he's sitting there in his dying breath, like the truth is exposed that he's been a mutant the whole time. And his father, Stryker, would always have him drugged up and believing that he was crazy. But his father also noticed that he had the power to communicate with machinery. But what's crazier than that in his dying breath, he actually transfers his consciousness into the Sentinels, taking control of the fleet and continuing the attack. Like, how crazy is that? But Kitty Pryde's able to hold them off and give them like a 20-minute window. But Stryker now has the location of every documented mutant in the country. Because when he joined his consciousness with the Nimrod Sentinel Armada, he also got full control and access to their data and resources. And it makes sense that he would retreat, because rather than staying here and fighting with mutants who can fend for themselves and can defend themselves, you have hundreds if not thousands of other targets out there that are literally helpless. So his plan is pretty much to take them out and then come back with more than enough reinforcements to overwhelm those that want to stand and fight. And so shortly after that, Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Rogue, and James Hudson all got together and said, okay, we're going to make a road trip. We're going to find as many mutants as we can. We're going to form a resistance and we're going to stand our ground. And they're taking whatever transportation they can to do this. Like at first they started taking the bus and finding like used bus tickets in the trash and messing around with them, making them look like new ones and reusing those. And on top of that, just hopping from one stolen vehicle to the next to cover more ground. But what made it even more difficult, like when they're driving out there on the highway, they even had a map. Like Jimmy was reading the map out, trying to show them like which way to turn or whatnot. But it makes it difficult when all the road signs are pulled down, which made it nearly impossible to navigate without some form of GPS. So the four of them make their way to stop at this diner to get something to eat. And they broke, so all they can afford is some large fries, and everybody got to share. But along this trip here is where you start to notice that there's kind of a chemistry going on between James and Kitty, even as she tries to console him a little bit, telling him to relax for the moment and save his energy for the next fight, which is closer than they think. Because as Kitty steps outside, he uses the payphone to call Johnny, and a few armed scouts with guns ended up running to the rest of the crew inside the restaurant. And one of them asks, like, where's your cute friend in the white? Referring to Kitty Pryde. And that got James pissed. And so at this point, Kitty's outside on the payphone, she's getting the bad news about Johnny, and she hears a gunshot from inside the restaurant. And as she runs to the door, she's kind of hoping it's not Jimmy, but at the same time she's kind of hoping it is, because he's the only one who can really take it. But on her way to the door, this dude jumps out of SUV and tries to grab her, but she just phases through him and hits him with the elbow in the back of the neck. And that's what I love about Kitty's fighting style. Like when it's done right, it's super badass. Kind of reminds me of some of the moves you might get from Vision in the Avengers flick, because in any kind of fight she chooses who makes contact, which makes her flawless in every confrontation. But when she gets back inside, dude that was talking slick is like, ah, there she is, and James is just laid out on the floor playing dead. And same dude with the big mouth is like, I guess he's the kind of mutant that isn't bulletproof. And Kitty's just like, now. And the next thing you hear is just James popping his claws, and he goes to town on these dudes. And as soon as he does that, Iceman and Rogue got his back. They jump out from the seats and get right into the fight. And Iceman straight goes for this dude's neck, freezing the top half of his body and freezing his assault rifle till it just crumbles into pieces. But he lets him down slowly, because if he would have dropped, he would have shattered just like the gun. But still, Iceman hears somebody in the corner like, you killed that man. And I wouldn't doubt it. That was pretty brutal. And Rogue jumped on the third guy, absorbing some of his energy to weaken him, and just starts beating on him. And dude's really too weak to lift his own hands in his defense, so he's just like, hey, don't kill me. So James comes up behind her. He's like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to do this. It's okay. But then he kills him, and everybody's jaw just drops. And Iceman had the nerve here to ask, like, why'd you do it? Because he clearly forgot about that quick the other dude over here whose lungs, heart, and other vital organs he just froze and shut down all but 10 seconds ago. But now Jimmy's response is, that dude shot me in the head twice. Y'all need to wake up. So he takes another gun from outside that the dude just dropped and ran off. But James tells her right here, he's like, that dude inside, he was looking for you, and I stood up to him. And I do it again. I do anything for you, Kitty. And after that, she's just like, oh, okay, Jimmy. Yeah, James just straight up had a Drake moment. But after that, everybody gets right back in the same car that they got to the diner in, which wasn't smart if you ask me. And Kitty realizes that. She's asking James to stop, but he won't stop. So she just reaches over and pulls the keys out the ignition. And Bobby's like, wait, we're definitely gonna get killed if we just sit in the car. But Kitty's like, we gotta ditch this vehicle because they can trace it all back to us. They got the plates. They seen our faces. We need to ditch it quick. But she also takes this time to share them the bad news she got from Nomi over the phone. Now, the connection was pretty bad, so she couldn't get the whole rap, but she knows that Johnny was taken and possibly some of the kids. And Kitty makes a suggestion that they should turn around and go back. But Bobby's like, how do we even know that he's alive still? And Kitty's like, we don't know that. She's like, she says it like, don't even think that. And that's when James steps over next to Kitty and is like, hey, we should take a vote. And as the vote turns out, they ended up moving forward. And just thinking to herself, Kitty noticed the conflict in Bobby's face, like just thinking about going back for Johnny. And Rogue also voted against Kitty. But Kitty peeped the whole tactic that James pulled back there by moving and standing next to her and calling for the vote. Yeah, he ain't fool her for a second. But as it turns out, their luck changes for the better. And they ended up finding this abandoned construction site, which is a real site for Sore Eyes, because this has an abundance of resources that they need right now. And what they ended up doing here is taking about a day and a half to just relax, really, like mentally and physically. This way they're better equipped for the challenges they got up ahead. But I'm going to end this one right here, guys. Hopefully doing like a little mini series on James Hudson will clear up some of the questions you guys got about where he's been at. Because overall, he doesn't have a lot of appearances just yet. But like I said before, I'll just piece them all together to give you guys a better understanding. I'll leave plenty of links up, so if you're new to the page and want to see some more James Hudson, I'll show you where to go. And also, our new Facebook page just went live today. So the link for that's in the description. And on my homepage, you can hit the link up top to go to the Facebook as well too. And I'll be making a lot of announcements on that Facebook page for this YouTube page. And also, if you want to stay current, be sure to also click on the bell next to the subscription button so you can get all the notifications as soon as the videos go up here on YouTube. But be sure to hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about James Hudson's move so far. Personally, I think he's a bit on the nose with Kitty, even though he's trying not to be. But when it counts, his dad's killer instinct really kicks in and gets him out of some tough situations. But let me know what y'all think in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.